What's for dinner?
Hey everyone, I'm Chef Z and welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of Chef Z Cooks, where today we are making one of my all-time favorites. We are making Cuban style palomilla, which is a thinly cut piece of steak that is cooked to perfection and is so fast to make. You're gonna be seriously wowed. It is so delicious. You guys already know this has a ton of garlic. Now you pair this with some white rice, some frijole negro, which are Cuban black beans, and some maduros, some fried sweet plantains. Listen, okay? Hands down, one of my favorite things to eat. It is so simple to make. Now without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Palomilla is actually one of the easiest and quickest things that you can make for dinner, and you're going to be surprised just how fast this all comes together. So first things first, we're actually going to prepare our onions, and this is honestly one of my favorite parts about this whole entire dish. We're going to slice the onions thinly, and you can add as much onions or as little. I find that just a large Spanish onion works really, really well. We're then going to take a ton of garlic and we're going to mince it. Now, fun fact, you can actually mash the garlic as well, or you can even use like one of those garlic presses as well, and that makes things go so much faster. Now, one of the most important parts about this whole entire recipe is that we're actually going to tenderize our meat. Now, the key to making this dish is to actually get a steak that's super thin, and I'm using some top round steak. It's super, super affordable, but don't worry, because once we pound it out, it's going to come out super, super delicious and soft. It's one of the main reasons why I also love making this for friends and family, because it is fairly economical. So using a meat masher and using the smooth side at the very end, I actually like to sandwich the steak in between two pieces of parchment paper. And then I pretty much pound it out until it becomes extremely thin, just like you see right here. We're talking maybe like 1/8 of an inch thin. This is also something that you can use to make steak sandwiches, especially in the summertime when you want to grill them. Now, seasoning this is also really simple. We're just going to use some kosher salt, some black pepper, and then to that we're also going to add some Dominican oregano or Mexican oregano. If you have regular oregano, that will also work. A tiny bit of cumin. Now, this is optional. I do like to add just a touch of soy sauce because it kind of helps everything come together, and it also helps further tenderize the meat. We're going to add some limes, and sometimes I even like to add a fresh orange because you guys know I love sour oranges. We're going to add the garlic, and then we're also going to add the olive oil just to wrap up all of the marinade. And then we're going to mix everything until it's well combined. And honestly, you want to let this sit for at least 20 minutes. You don't really need to let it sit any further, but if you want to prepare this ahead of time, that's definitely okay. And then afterwards, we're going to add some olive oil into a cast iron skillet. And once it becomes nice and hot, we're going to add the steak to it. Now, I cook this in small batches because really what I want is for the steak to cook fairly quickly, and I want to avoid it sweating out as much as possible. We're not making carne guisada, which is a stewed steak meat. Instead, we're making palomilla, which is pretty much like pasado por el sartén, which is essentially like passed through the skillet. And as you can see, this cooks up really quickly because the meat is so thin. I'm talking about it cooks in under 10 minutes. So once you've cooked the first batch, we're gonna go ahead and cook the second batch. And then once that's done, we're gonna saute the onions. And at this point, you want to make sure to deglaze the bottom of the pot. And since we're also going to be adding the leftover marinade, that's definitely going to help speed things up, and it's also going to help deglaze the pot even further. So you want to go ahead and you want to saute that for about 3 minutes over high heat. And it's definitely up to you just how crunchy you want the onions. I personally like a little bit of a bite when it comes to the onions. So I cook them about 3/4 of the way through, but you can definitely cook them down a little bit more. You then want to add the onions over the steak. Feel free to garnish it with a little bit of cilantro. We're also going to add a tiny bit of lime. Enjoy with some white rice, some frijoles negro, some vegetables or a salad. Make sure to get the full recipe on my website, chefzcooks.com. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today while we made this delicious palomilla. Now make sure that you are following me on Instagram and TikTok, because let me tell you guys something. We are constantly cooking it up over there. But also be sure that you're subscribed to my channel. You click that bell so that you're notified each and every single time I post a brand new video. And if you like what you saw today and you want more ideas on what to make next, go ahead and click right here.